Assalamualaikum and welcome to our webinar. My name is Muhammad Ikmal bin Sumardi. As the moderator who will conduct this webinar, would like to thank all the attendees who attended to our webinar. Today, we have two special guests where there will be panels to answer questions on the topic that I will ask them. So, without wasting any time, the big topic we will discussing in the webinar is Pfizer versus ASTRAZENECA. A novel coronavirus or nCoV is a new strain that has not been previously identified in humans. The new virus was subsequently named the COVID-19 virus. So, let's hear more information from these two of our panelists about two vaccines that are effective against COVID-19. Before that, can both of you introduce a little bit of your background before we continue this webinar session? We will start with our first panelist.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Moderator. My name is Hairis Azri bin Azizi and I'm 23 years old. I'm from Ipoh Perak and my experience is I took my studies at Institute Kemahiran Bela Negara in Sinjil Lanjutan Teknologi Fotografi, and then I continued my diploma to KPTM, College Polytech Mara Ipoh, and now I'm semester 4.
Okay, hi, my name is Faisha Irina binti Syahmi Azhan. I am 19 years old and I was born in Putrajaya. Now I further my studies at KPTM Ipoh in Diploma in Multimedia and currently in semester 4. Today I'll be one of the panelists representing AstraZeneca vaccine. Hope you guys enjoy our webinar.
Alright, let's hear a little bit of background on each of the vaccines we're going to discuss, namely Pfizer and AstraZeneca. Starting with the first panel, Hairis Azri will be present about Pfizer.
Okay, thank you. Firstly, PFIZER Incorporated is a pharmaceutical company that created many well-known drugs. PFIZER brands include Advil, Bextra, Celebrex, Diflucan, Lyrica, Robitussin, and Viagra. The big pharma company is also the mastermind behind many popular consumer products. Some of the company's biggest names include Chapstick and Preparation H. PFIZER got its starts more than 150 years ago. It comes a long way, evolving from a one-stop shop to a multinational corporation. In December 2020, the company became the first to receive an emergency use authorization from the FDA for COVID-19 vaccines. In response to the spread of the COVID-19 Delta variant, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and other health officials announced that the booster shot will be available starting the week of September 2021 for who are fully vaccinated with the PFIZER vaccine. Thank you.
Okay, very interesting about the background of the Pfizer vaccine. So let's listen to the next background about AstraZeneca, which will be presented by Farisha Irdina.
Okay, so AstraZeneca is an international biopharmaceutical company that produces and markets medicines used by millions of people around the world. The company's purpose and values include following science and putting patient first. With more than 24 billion in revenue in 2019 and 70,600 employees, the Cambridge-based drug maker continues to rank among the largest drug companies in the world. Formed by the merger of two companies, Astra AB and Zeneca Group plc in 1999, the company had early success with drugs like the pain-numbing agent lidocaine. In response to the COVID-19 pandemic, AstraZeneca licensed a vaccine candidate from Oxford University in April 2020 to continue its development. Oxford had been working on the technology for years, according to the New York Times. On November 23, 2020, AstraZeneca announced Phase 2 and 3 trials results, showing that two different dosing regimens produced different efficacy results.
Okay, next we'll talk about the differences between these two vaccines according to their characteristic. The first panel, Hairi Azri, will begin this session by describing the characteristic of the Pfizer vaccine.
Okay, thank you, moderator. The PFIZER, BioNTech, and AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccines each work in different ways. The PFIZER BioNTech vaccines uses mRNA technology, while the AstraZeneca vaccines uses an adenovirus vector. The doses needed to gain immunity is about 20 days apart from the first dose. The PFIZER BioNTech vaccines works through these following steps. After you receive the vaccines, the mRNA that it contains is taken up by nearby cells. Once mRNA is inside of a cell, the mRNA remains outside of the nucleus and doesn't directly impact your DNA. The mRNA is in the vaccine provides instruction to the cell on how to produce the spike protein that's found on the surface of SARS-CoV-2. The virus uses this protein to bind to and enter cells before it begins reproducing and spreading the virus throughout your cells. Using the information provided by the vaccine mRNA, the cell makes spike protein. When this process has been completed, the mRNA is then destroyed. The spike proteins that the cell has produced are then displayed on the cell surface. Immune cells in your body can now recognize the spikes of the protein as a foreign substance and work to build an immune response against it. Your immune system can now produce antibodies and other immune cells that specifically recognize as SARS-CoV-2 spike protein. These tools can help you to protect you from becoming sick if you're too exposed to the novel coronavirus. Thank you.
There are unique features to this Pfizer vaccine. It is not surprisingly if this vaccine is the fastest to reach the level of immunization. Without wasting time, let's listen to the characteristic about AstraZeneca, which will be presented by Farisha Erdina.
Okay, the AstraZeneca or AZ vaccine is also known by several other names in scientific papers, including CHAdOx1, AZD1222, and Vaxzevria. Similar to many other COVID-19 vaccines, the AstraZeneca vaccine is given in 2 doses. The second dose is given between 24 to 84 days after the first dose. The AstraZeneca vaccine is delivered using an adenovirus vector. This is the same type of the technology that the Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine used. And here's how the AstraZeneca vaccine works. After the vaccine is injected, the modified adenovirus can enter nearby cells and release its genetic materials. This genetic material has instruction on how to make the spike protein found on the surface of SARS-CoV-2. Your cells use the information provided by the adenovirus genetic material to make the spike protein. When the spike protein is made, it can travel to the cell surface and be displayed there. Immune system cells notice the spike protein and recognize it as a foreign substance. This triggers the production of an immune response. Your immune system generates antibodies and immune cells that specifically recognize this new spike protein. If you're exposed to the novel coronavirus, the antibodies and cells can help prevent you from becoming ill.
Thank you, both of you, for the information that has been presented in the first segment. We will take a break for a moment. Stay tuned for upcoming segment. Thank you. Welcome back to our webinar. We will continue this webinar for the second segment, and I would like you all to join us too. So, I will start with panel 1. Can you tell us the pros and cons if we take this Pfizer vaccine?
Okay, thank you. There is a strong evidence from clinical trials that the PFIZER vaccine has a high level of efficacy. A trial involving 43,548 participants funded by BioNTech and PFIZER reported that 2 doses of their vaccines confer 95% protection against COVID-19 in people aged 16 years and older. This result was consistent across age groups, sexes, races, ethnicities, and body weights, as well as those with underlying medical condition and people who have already had a SARS-CoV-2 infection. The downside of the PFIZER vaccine are the side effects. Side effects are more common after the second dose than the first dose. If a person experiences side effects after vaccination, they can take a step to care for themselves. Cool compresses and exercising the arm may ease pain and swelling, while staying cool and drinking fluids can help with a fever. People can also discuss trying over-the-counter OTC pain medication such as acetaminophen with a doctor or pharmacist. In rare cases, people can experience a severe allergic reaction up to 60 minutes after receiving the vaccines. Signs and symptoms include breathing difficulties, dizziness, rapid heartbeat, rash all over the body, swelling of the face and throat, and weaknesses. Thank you.
Alright, we will go to the next vaccine. Let's listen to the pros and cons of taking ASTRAZENECA by panel 2.
Okay, thank you, moderator. So this is the advantages and disadvantages of AstraZeneca. On March 22, researchers announced the result of the US-based AstraZeneca vaccine clinical trial. They found the vaccine to be 79% effective at preventing systematic COVID-19 and 100% effective at preventing severe COVID-19. They also didn't find any serious side effects associated with the vaccine. Within 24 hours, the NIH said in a statement that an independent data review board had concerns about the trial. The board stated that the data used in the trial was outdated and may give an incomplete view of results. On March 23, 2021, AstraZeneca agreed to share up-to-date information with the health agency to clarify the result of the trial. Next, I will explain about the disadvantage of AstraZeneca vaccine. Earlier trials of the AstraZeneca vaccines also shown an overall efficacy of about 70%, but have also faced problems. A manufacturing error led to some dosage mistakes during the first phase 3 trial in Brazil and the UK. This dosage mistake made calculating the true efficacy rate more complicated than usual. Despite this misstep, overall, the studies shows that the AstraZeneca vaccine is effective at preventing disease caused by the original strain of SARS-CoV-2. However, evidence is emerging that it isn't very good against some of the new variants of the virus.
Thank you for the information about disadvantage and advantage about Pfizer and AstraZeneca. Let's go to Q&A section. Well, I've taken a few questions from the audience to ask our panel. The first questions relate to Pfizer vaccines from our panel 1, Iris Azri. The question is, are COVID-19 vaccines safe for people with allergies?
Okay, thank you, moderator. Individuals who had severe allergic reactions to the other vaccines or injectable therapies should not get vaccinated against COVID-19. People who have other allergies, for example, allergies to food, animals, venom, environmental, or latex, may be vaccinated but should remain at the vaccination site for about 15 to 30 minutes for observation. Individuals who carry epinephrine should bring it with them as a precaution. Thank you.
For the next question from the audience that I want to ask you again, panel 1, is there any research on the long-term effects of the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine?
Okay, thank you. Because of the COVID-19 vaccines, clinical trials only started in summer of 2020. It is not yet clear if the vaccines will have long-term effects. However, vaccines rarely cause long-term effects. A portion of the children ages 12 through 15 enrolled in the ongoing PFIZER BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine study were monitored for safety for at least 2 months after being given the second dose of the COVID-19 vaccines. As part of its first request for emergency use authorization of COVID-19 vaccine in 2020, PFIZER created a safety monitoring plan. The plan now includes the monitoring of adolescents given the COVID-19 vaccines. In addition, in the US, all vaccine providers are required to report serious adverse events such as allergic reactions to a national program called the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System. Thank you.
Thank you, panelist 1. I will be continue this Q&A session to panel 2, which is Farisha Irdina will answer questions from the audience. The question is, if a country has reported a variant, should the AstraZeneca vaccine still be used? What decision-making steps should countries use?
Okay, thank you for the question. So WHO currently recommends the use of the ASTRAZENECA vaccines according to the WHO SAGE prioritization roadmap. Even if virus variants are present in a country, countries should assess the risks and benefits taking into consideration their epidemiological situation, including the extent of circulating variants. To stop the spread of new variants and support decision-making on vaccination strategies, countries need to improve surveillance, including genomic analysis, to detect the prevalence of different virus strains. The primary objective of any COVID-19 vaccination strategy should be to protect high-risk individuals against severe disease, hospitalization and death, and protect hospitals and health facilities from being overwhelmed. Many African countries have limited capacity for critical care. If infection rise due to the new COVID-19 variants, there could be a higher proportion of severe ill patients requiring hospitalization, including the intensive care unit. The emphasis should be on starting vaccination as early as possible with available vaccine.
Thank you for the first question. And the last question that I want to ask you is, if I get the vaccine, will I die from the vaccine?
Okay, there is a very rare complication that can occur with the AstraZeneca vaccine called thrombosis with thrombocytopenia syndrome or TTS. When this first happened, it was not clear how to treat it and there were deaths. There were 30 cases reported in Australia with 1 or 2 deaths after millions of doses of AstraZeneca vaccine being given. Initially, it was not clear how best to treat it, but now we know how to identify it and treat it, so it should not be life-threatening. The deaths due to this have gone down a lot since it was first recognized. Most of the cases of TTS have been in young women aged less than 50 years. TTS is very rare with just a few cases out of millions. In one study, it was 32 cases out of 5 million vaccines. In another, it was 18 cases out of 9 million vaccines. The chance of dying from COVID is much higher than the chance of getting TTS. Thank you.
Looks like we already at the end of the webinar. In conclusion, both of these vaccines can treat COVID-19 but with their methods. If we look from the context, the side effects from taking this vaccine are not necessarily fatal because no drug has been created for that reason. So, we should not have any hesitation or fear to take this vaccine as it gives a good effect rather than a bad one. That is responsible to protect us in the future. Before I close the webinar, any last word from both of you? Start with panel 1, Iris Azri.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Moderator. In my conclusion, no matter what anti-vaccines people say about the danger of the vaccines, especially adults between the age of 18 to 25 years old, saying that the vaccine are really dangerous. We must take the vaccines to prevent our family from getting sick, affected by COVID-19. And I hope all the people listening to our webinar will change their mindset to take the vaccines. Thank you.
And for the panel 2, Parisha Irdina.
Okay, my conclusion is let's follow the government plan by taking the vaccine to protect all of us. There are so many benefits if you're taking the vaccination, such as dining in and all social activities by just showing your vaccination digital certificates. We also can go for holidays as the benefits. So please make sure all of you to take vaccination so that our country will stay safe and lower the cases. Thank you so much for staying with us from beginning to the end. Stay safe and Assalamualaikum.
Thank you for the audience that come to see our webinar. That's all from us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.